the problem is that there's a special group of people who are not talking, they are not talking in such terms. They're very, very thinking ahead, and I'm very afraid of them. And this is the technology giants, you know, they love the idea of the dystopia to continue. They are the ones of the few profiting to the maximum out of this crisis. And they're like ready, like already preparing the solutions, the tech solutions, to permit to keep certain level of normality in this dystopia that we are heading. And this, you talk about humanized brutalism. I think more of a techno barbarism of total control in the few hands of technocrats of technology companies in the US, because that's the other thing that I would like to discuss. What will be like everybody is fascinated in the way South Korea and China control this crisis with the help of this new cast, these new priests with the magic solutions of technology and data. So I want to what will this be the official moment when the Chinese model is like installed as the global moment? What will be like, what is this power shift that we are witnessing now? And how do you see the reconfiguration of power in the not so great future that we might have if we do not activate this new form of communism?
I totally agree with you. This is one option. This, I agree with you, not so much barbarism with human face, but technological barbarism. Let's call it like this. There will be brutal rules, and it's not even a future. Discreetly, I was told by friends from New York, from Italian cities where I have friends, you know, that they are already doing this. They're simply making judgments. In some Italian hospital, and it's a tragic decision, maybe they have to do it, you know, that they simply say, if you are over 65 and have also diabetes or something, okay, you are not worth a respirator. This respirator, so they are already doing very brutal decisions at this level, and so on and so on. But I think, sorry, I think nonetheless that this game again can go on for some time. And I don't think even those companies that you mentioned, the mega technology company, can simply change this or impose this on us, make it some kind of a permanent let's call it technocratic dictatorship. If nothing else, don't underestimate another antagonism here. You know, don't dismiss all scientists, and I don't like to use the word technocrats, but people who do these measures of control and so on, as evil people. We need them. Science is today needed more than ever. And what I predict, it's already appearing. Look at the United States and so on. It's how many top scientists and so on are already rendering problematic how power mechanisms work and so on and so on. So it's I don't think that big technological companies simply form one evil bloc against ordinary people. What I fear more is that this rule of barbarian technocracy will get combined with some new brutal populism. You know, in the United States, they're already talking this language. Like, it's a very brutal Darwinian language. It's the language of, okay, ultimately, this crisis will be even beneficent for a society. We will get rid of the old, of those who were just ill, too weak, the burden, and so on and so on. Those who will survive will be, it's the Nazi logic. Hitler practiced this. This is why, as you probably know, Hitler wasn't killing just Jews and Roma, the gypsies. Hitler was also killing mentally disabled, old, and so on and so on. And I still think that this is too simple paranoid vision. It's an option, but I think that at a certain point, politicization will re-enter. What world do we the problem will be, as I called it, that of re-normalization.
Yeah.
When things will return to normality, what kind of normality will it be? I totally agree with you. One option is this technocratic normality. Big companies and government will say, if you want to save life, you must concede that you are totally controlled and so on and so on. On the other hand, it will be direct barbarism and so on. But I think that these are not the only options. I don't think that the technocratic elite will succeed in this simple way of just legitimizing by perpetuating the crisis, legitimizing their rule. Because if this happens, you know what's the problem? The problem is that I don't think how this can fit the logic of existing capitalism. This type of permanent emergency state means such a tremendous change in our economic system. We no longer have this global consumerist capitalism. More than half of our industries, car industries or whatever, are out and so on. We will have to reconstruct our daily lives. And this is not so easy. I don't believe here in this all powerful state agents and so on. Sorry, please go on.
I have some questions from, lots of people from different places.
No problem.
To Berlin. They are watching. And one of the questions is, what do you think about this big bailout? I mean, the bailout that millions and trillions given to corporations and then
on the one hand, it's necessary to do it, and it proves how. Again, according to traditional economic market wisdom, this is a disaster, you cannot do it. I always like moments when all of a sudden the state can do things that are officially considered impossible. And you see, this is one hope that I see. All these bailouts, we all know they totally violate market logic. We are already entering a different system. At a certain point, I claim here, money, when you give trillions of dollars, no longer functions in the old capitalist way. It's a simple means of allocation. Marx thought money will function like this in the first stages of socialism. Money is no longer surplus, exploitation, and so on. It's simply a way you say, those poor, suffering has to survive, we have to give $3,000 to each family, but here problems immediately emerge. I totally agree with you. One has to look very closely at these bailouts, whom they are really helping. And I know how Trump is cheating here, how he is already protecting some companies and so on and so on. But I think that what we need is, we need this totally irrational from the market standpoint, print trillions of dollars, distribute them, and so on and so on. But again, we should be very careful, and we still have means of minimal, at least in some countries, democratic control to look closely at how this money will be spent. But still, again, I think that the crucial thing is that capitalism as we knew it is in the last stage here. State is doing things which even in the worst crisis till now, in the Great Depression, late 20s and so on, or for example, in the financial crisis of 2008, you remember, they threw also $1 billion and then more. But this was done in a different way. It was clearly a gift to the banks to keep the economy functioning. Now something much more radical is happening. It no longer fits the capitalist logic. So how will, and on the other hand, it's clear that you cannot just, the system cannot survive through just printing trillions and so on. Somebody has to work and so on and so on. Problems are still ahead of us. I am also like you, basically, a pessimist. But I think a space for struggle will open up.